Welcome to another edition of two in a week. Look at that. We're spoiling you like the ambassador with his Ferrero Rocher with another episode of 4020 Not Live. Phil's here. I'm here. John Seager is here. Are you old enough to remember the Ferrero Rocher advert?
Oh yeah, from the mid-80s. Yeah, absolutely.
Because
I was watching adverts.
I assume you're the youngest person on the call. That's also. Yeah, I would think that even including every member of the Coyd family, you've probably watched more wheelchair rugby league games this year than anyone else. Would you agree with that statement?
Yes, I mean there were games which I haven't been to due to unforeseen circumstances, but they were recorded and I watched them back. So, for example, the Magic Weekend in Newcastle, I watched that back. I was at the other three. I've been at the playoff semi-finals, which were brilliant. I was at the opening game of the season when I was with Sky, and that was absolutely brilliant. I've been to the majority of the games. I've been to the festival, the Challenge Cup festival, that was in Hull. The Challenge Cup final, which was in Sheffield, that was brilliant as well. I think the crowd from Sheffield, like seeing their team getting their first try was absolutely wow. It made a smile on my face, so that was a good experience.
I would have been at Sheffield, but they scheduled it badly.
I don't think a wheelchair game is allowed to kick off unless John is there to, if I'm being perfectly honest.
What have you made of the 2023 season? This is the season after the World Cup, so we're all on a high. How's it gone from your perspective?
I think it's been one of the best seasons we've ever had. I mean, different teams have been beating each other. A shake. Obviously expecting the big guys to be there at the top, but two cracking semi-finals. No one's expected Halifax to lose on the opening weekend of the season. No one expected London to beat Halifax, do the double over them, and do the double over Wigan, and Hull to beat London. And for the playoffs actually be decided on the final weekend of the season, and the League Leaders' Shield to be decided on the final weekend of the season. It's been a fantastic season, and then that followed into the playoffs. Two fantastic playoffs, and no broadcasters took it up, and that saddened me. Absolutely saddened me, because the Leeds Halifax game, I mean, a Yorkshire derby, a repeat of last year's final, a fantastic 54-44 win, one of the best defensive performances I've seen in the wheelchair rugby league, and no one took it up. It saddens me. And then a week later, another fantastic semi-final, because you got London versus Wigan, experience over youth, experience over speed got you through the game, and that's what got Wigan in the final.
We did try to watch the game on Sunday while we were in York, so you had with the women's grand finals going on in front of us. We're trying to watch. I'm assuming you were doing the filming on Facebook, were you, John? Was that you?
Yeah, there was a stream. Rooster set up a stream. I was doing my YouTube stuff as always.
Right.
So I was doing text updates and video updates as when I go. It was a very interesting game because Wigan came out from the gut and had a lot of experience with the ball and how to run the game. They used that with Jack Heggie, Adam Rigby, Declan Roberts, fantastic player. That's what Phil said. He's Mr. Versatility. He can get points, he can convert tries, he can get kicks, drop goals. And we saw all of that from Declan Roberts, and that's what got him in the final.
I suppose the other couple of things that have happened this week in the build-up to the final, which is obviously going to be televised and a lot made of it. We had the awards ceremony at the point in Manchester where wheelchair sat alongside women and men for the first time. First Wheels of Steel were announced, and we had the documentary, which came out on the same night, which you can't do anything about, but again has had widespread coverage across social media, even a review in the Times, which was incredibly favourable. So I think you're right that the semi-finals perhaps could have been at least shown in highlight form, but this is a massive week for wheelchair rugby league.
Absolutely, and to have the main awards for the Wheels of Steel alongside the men's and the women's, it's a testament to how much the actual sport is growing. Everyone saw the wheelchair after the win in the World Cup where England won it, and have it on the same level with the men's and women. It's just showcasing that we are heading in the right direction, and it's showcasing that the sport's been inclusive, and that's what that's what I enjoy about it. You know, it's very inclusive. Anyone could get in the chair, whether you're able, disabled, men or women. You know, you could just put in a chair, go to a game, have a play, and have some fun and enjoy it, which is brilliant. Which is why I love it.
The other thing as well, being there and watching the reaction of the crowd, which is mainly rugby league players and their families. Lewis King's acceptance speech of the Wheels of Steel was absolutely captivating. Ron fell silent while he told his story and how he got involved in rugby league and why. And Ellery Hanley presented the award, and there was genuine warmth when Ellery not only gave it to him, but does what Ellery often does and pulled the recipient in and whispered words of encouragement into his ear. I'm sure that Lewis will tell us all at some point what he said. But it's the stories that fascinate me. And I think everybody else, I think that's what draws people in. So, he was brilliant, but it's the stories in the documentary as well. We start to get to know people a little bit better. I was talking to somebody who watched it that didn't know any of the French stories and was saying that, they were shedding a tear when they heard some of those as well. And, we've got something that's not only magical, but massively sellable here.
Absolutely. And I was drawn to, I had a lot more respect for the French team, especially Arnaud Vargas and his background story. And also Gilles Corsair, how he took Sébastien Bouchard under his wing when he lost his leg in his accident. And I thought, yeah, this is what, it's not just like the sport, like the rugby league community. It's very good, like humanity. Showing like how good we are. But when it comes onto a pitch, we're different team from different, different cultures, different countries and everything. But afterwards, we go back to that humanity and have a beer with everyone, which is great.
Well, we all love the brutality, I say violence is probably the wrong word, but certainly people getting in each other's heads, which was certainly seen in that Leeds Halifax semi-final, has been mentioned by some of the players afterwards. Have you seen a defensive performance that we saw in that first half from Leeds from any other team this season?
Not this season. You have to go back to probably when it was the Catalan Leeds Challenge Cup final back in 2022. And I thought, Leeds from that first minute in that game were absolutely on, and they copy and pasted that for that Halifax game, because not only have you just got Seb in that team, you had Gilles Corsair, Nico Corsair, you had Arnaud Vargas, very high quality French players, and you need to be on that. You need to be physically brutal and then, take the tags, make sure you're in the right place at the right time. You stop the chair, you take the tag, and then you get the ball back, and then you're attacking with that same ferocity, and then you win.
It's as simple as that. Is that all you have to? You could be the next Tom Coyd, John. If that's all we need to do, we could all be Tom Coyd.
Well, we could be, yeah, but he's got a lot more tactical awareness about wheelchair rugby league more than I have.
Well, I'm going to put you on the spot then. How Leeds are the favourites on Sunday? How do Wigan beat them? And of course, they've beaten them in a grand final before. So how do they do it again?
Same experience they did beat against Roosters. Use the experience and then look for gaps and then expose that with speed. Jack Heggie and Declan Roberts would help with that, because Jack Heggie scored 3 tries in that game against London, and they all came from when then gaps were forming, and then Jack Heggie used his speed to get through behind the line to score tries. That's what they need to do to help beat Leeds. They need to expose the gaps, and then you have the right man with the right place at the right time to go through the gaps to stop them and score. And obviously be good with the kicking as well, because you want to you're up against Nathan Collins, who's a fantastic kicker. He missed a couple in the semi-final, but when it comes to a final, the kicking person needs to be on the form all the time. And Nathan can step up when he needs to. And Declan, I think, can also step up when he needs to as well. So it's going to be a kicking duel, I think, if the right time if it comes down to that.
Having been at the last Leeds training session last night, seen quite a lot of focus among the squad. They were talking about how they felt they, in some ways, maybe over-prepared for the Challenge Cup final against the Dragons and didn't relax enough. Do you think losing one final already this year will be the driving motivation for the Rhinos?
Yes, because in the last time when Dragons beaten Leeds in the final this year, they immediately played Wigan the game after. And I asked James Simpson, if that was, and they beat them by, I think it was like 54 points to 26. I asked James, was that the kind of response you wanted to make sure you wanted to come up, you wanted to recover from the Dragons game? He said, yeah, we wanted to be physically on there. We wanted to have our tackles right. We wanted to make sure we'll be in the right place at the right time. We'll need to get points on the board. And that's the kind of response, and that's can it be the same carbon copy thing they could use this time? They need to make sure they have the right people with the right mentality, very, very strong tackling, very strong defensive line, and that will get them through the game.
And in terms of spectacle, do you think it'll be attack dominated or defence? Because whilst both teams do pride themselves on defence, you've already mentioned people like Nathan Collins, particularly Deck Roberts, who must have been the leading try scorer for the last 3 years in succession, possibly even more.
Yeah, that's correct. Yes.
You've got Tom Halliwell, who in that semi-final in that first half absolutely dominated the midfield. You've got Josh Butler, who's now the young player of the year, 28 tries this season.
Yep.
You were mentioning, people like Martin Wolof, who played in the World Cup for the USA. There's so much attacking threat on display this Sunday. Is that what's going to win it, as opposed to rigid defence?
I think the more fluid attackness is going to win the game, because you got your set. When you go into attack and get the ball, you got to make sure you get your formation set up and where you want to play it. You want to play it to the wing. You want to go down the centre, and Leeds can switch that quite easy because they've got Jody on the wing, who can play quite well on the wing. Also, they've got like Nathan, they've got Tom, they've got Josh Butler, who could play it quite up through the centre as well. So they've got options. They could swing in between the two. And majority of the time they can swing it towards the wing and have like Josh and Tom to help alongside with Jody in order to expose gaps on the wing to score tries. So I think it's going to be the more set-up attack. If they're going to have the more fluid and balanced set-up attack, that's going to win the game as well.
Have you ever had a go, John, yourself? Because what's your story? Why have you got involved with wheelchair rugby? Because you're not like us from up here.
Yeah, my story goes back to 2012. So I just graduated from university with a journalism degree, and I was looking to work my way into working as a sports journalist. I saw that. Remember when the Broncos came down to Gillingham for a couple of games back in 2012 and 2013, and it was because of that they timed something with the Medway Dragons. So that's my first time I went to see Martin Coyd. That's the first time I met him. He welcomed me, saying like, great to see like someone who's. I've always had a big interest in rugby league. We as a family sit down and watch, Challenge Cup finals, grand finals, and semi-finals. I've never picked a team. I've always enjoyed the spectacle of it, but I've never picked a Super League team to watch or support. My brother has. He's a Wigan fan. Because we all grew up, with like Martin the Fire and, seeing like the final he had at Wembley with just like, yeah. My brother instantly knew then he wanted to be a Wigan fan. But from there, from that meeting with Martin Coyd, so I was doing a festival, like little like a support festival, like with kids coming through, which it's going to be great. And then he told me about wheelchair rugby league, and I thought, wheelchair rugby league, that's a bit unusual. I thought, I'm open to it, so I'll give it a go. I'll watch it. Fell in love with it straight away. It was Merseystorm versus Medway Dragons was my first game, and it finished like 62-58 with Joe Coy getting the try in the last minute. And then from that, a few weeks later, was my first England-France game. It was the Keelty Trophy back in 2012, and yeah, France won by about like 25, 26 points. That's why I got to know, that's why I got to meet the French team for the very first time. And then from there, I did a few games, and then 2013 World Cup came in. So I just followed that up from there. And the sport I just followed the sport from there. And the RFL called me on, say, do you want to do some media work for us? So, yeah, I'd love to. And then from that, I grew the sport, helped grow the sport like on social media, regional news, and just kept on growing and growing. From there, in 2018, I helped get coverage of the wheelchair grand final on Super League show for the very first time. So that was like another, because I think they wanted to look into they were looking to like, oh, we've got the wheelchair game, let's see more bits about that. And then it just continued to grow and grow from there. It's been a fantastic journey for me. I don't want it to stop because I really do enjoy. This is one of my favorite sports I've ever done. I enjoy it.
Are you surprised with how the game has grown? I mean, we're talking about Wigan versus Leeds on Sunday, but both have development teams now. There's teams popping up all over the place. Other Super League clubs have seen the value, or the Championship clubs have seen the value of perhaps getting involved with teams that already exist and work in partnership
for
with them.
example, taking over Medway Storm.
Yeah.
I think that's where it's going to go. I think it's going to be like all the Super League clubs are going to get have the affiliation. So, for example, like Widnes taking over Mersey, or Saints coming back into the for the first time like 3 or 4 years. That's going to be big. Will the Broncos have affiliate with the London Roosters? That could be another story further down the line as well. The possibilities are endless, and I, for one, am excited about it.
I think the other thing is clearly we're all looking forward to this pinnacle of the club game. But as the documentary highlighted, the big rivalry from this time last year was the internationals. And you're saying, you go back a long way with that England-France rivalry. And we've now got the FD Arena in Leeds, which, if they wanted to get 7,000 people, they would hold it easily. How exciting is that for you that we're going to end the season with the rematch?
I think it's going to be a testament to see where the teams have been like compared to 12 months ago, how far we've come, how far the French team come, how far the England team come, if the French are going to dominate again, is this going to be their first opportunity to get back onto on their journey to regain the World Cup? Are we going to retain it? There's a lot of possibility stories there, and it'd be interesting to see how it's going to develop over the 80 minutes in the First Direct Arena. I'm looking forward to it because if England if they get like 3 or 4,000, or even 7,000 in there, the loud noise, everyone cheering on, it's going to be like Manchester all over again.
And do you think as well that perhaps the only downside is that if the standard of Super League has gone up and the games have been more competitive and it's taken more out of the players, that might detract from England's performance? Because we all know that the French team is basically Catalan Dragons, and they haven't played for a little while. Be nice and rested.
Yeah, depends on how physical this grand final is going to be. Obviously there's still going to be a gap in between, so it gives more players to rest. We've developed a the league system now. We've had it's been a very long season, I think. Players have got game time. We had a little break in August, I think, because like England camps, and there was going to be something in August as well, which didn't materialise, I think. I think there was some conversation going on. I remember there was some sort of conversation going about something that's happened in August, which didn't happen. But I think it's going to be, it'd be great to see, the England team, get together again, I think, and then see how far they've grown, see how much the players like Lewis King, like Joe Coyd have been, like Tom Hannaway have been since the grand final, and have they, stepped up, have they got more experience, and are they going to step up to the next level if need be, like complete dominate France? They're like being like a 4-point gap. Would it be like a 20-point gap?
That'd be nice, wouldn't it? That'd be nice.
That'd be brilliant, yes. Because the only times England have won have only been like within a less than 10-point gap. So I've never seen England win with more of a 10-point gap. So that would be the next step, I think.
And on this brand new pitch that the sponsor money has paid for, do you ever get confused watching a game with all the lines on the pitch? I know it was bad enough in Toronto, where Rod Studd will tell us, but when you're in the various sports halls across the country, does it confuse you at all?
Absolutely, yeah. National Basketball Centre have got lines for wheelchair rugby league. The Medway Park have got lines for wheelchair rugby league, and I think as well, like places like the Edge, Calderdale College, they've all got lines for wheelchair rugby league. But some places haven't, and we noticed that in the sports desk place last week for the London semi-final. And I was like, okay, so that's the 4 metre line, that's the 8 metre line, that's halfway. It does seem a bit confusing on that. It needs to be like what it was like in London and Sheffield. Hopefully more straighter lines this time than they were in those two venues. But they got it right for Manchester, so that was the main thing.
I obviously knew my eyes testing because I didn't notice, but that's not a surprise. As time is about to beat us, John, who wins? Who wins on Sunday? That's the big question.
For me, Leeds. I think it'll be closer than what people would think. And I think if we can get the good start and use their experience, I think definitely Leeds will win. But it'll be closer than you think. It'll be less than, I would say, probably less than 20 points.
Play with the match?
Josh Butler. Easily. I think, to be honest, this will cap a fantastic season for him, to be honest. Winning the grand final again, and he'll probably get like 2 or 3 tries and be crowned man of the match, I think, just to cap a fantastic season. And then 24 hours later, he'll be in the England squad.
He knows everything, Phil. He knows everything. We don't know anything.
He's on here because he's the expert.
That's people haven't people are realizing this. That's how this program works. I sit in the corner. Phil knows some things, and you know everything, John. So thank you for taking up the time to join us this evening. I mean, if we don't see you in Manchester on Sunday, hopefully we'll see you in Leeds for the big one.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'll definitely try and make myself. Fingers crossed. I'll sort some. We'll get some. We'll figure it out. Definitely.
And that's rugby league in general. Eventually,
yeah, that's rugby league. Yeah,
we will figure it out.
Should be the new strapline.
Yes.